the kick is...
He hits it! He hits it!
It's good! It's good!
Deep in their own side of the field, and it's intercepted. Otis Wiley's got another one.
Hands to Gaffney. He's hit. He won't go anywhere.
Pass intercepted. That's going to go for a touchdown, and guess who? Otis Wiley.
Down the sideline. Racing into the end zone.
Are you kidding me? L.J. Scott fighting against 1, 2, 3, 4 Hawkeyes.
Quick throw, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Otis Wiley.
He's on his feet, George. He's on his feet.
He's into the end zone.
Ooh, man. That got my juices flowing.
Well, I got my juices flowing too. I could say I invited Jason Strayhorn to be a guest on the show. Really, what I did was paid him a large fee because he does have a large appearance fee. And I just want him to spit some shit at me and relive some of those great moments, some of which were captured in that intro. But man, Jason, it's great to have you along with Otis Wiley, 2 certified Spartan dogs as we've called you. 2 different eras, but both great and carrying things through with your own show now. I don't even know what to call you. Former players, Spartan dogs, media personalities. You kind of wear a lot of hats, but as Spartans do, Spartans will. Welcome to the Spiro Avenue Show, guys.
Man.
I
appreciate it.
But you see that smile on his face, man. It's like
that was great. That was a nice intro, man. Appreciate that. It's good being here. Obviously with we've been following you, and what's been going on and covering Michigan State athletics is something that's been a part of our fabric for a long time. Also being on the inside as players and also broadcasting. Now it's something that is unique and that we like to continue to give people what they really want to hear and understand about the game that we all love. And being able to educate society to move this thing forward, I think only is better for everybody. Evolution wise for the sport and fandom. Everybody's got a higher IQ. I love that stuff. We talk about it all the time on our show, and thank you for doing what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, this is our 77th episode, and we've had some wonderful guests. I got to say, there's not many that care nearly as much about this shit as I do, and I feel thrilled to be in light company because some people, you came in here thinking it was cool. There was some judgment coming on with some people coming through. They were nice about it, but they're looking around. They're like, this guy's fucking crazy. So, it's good to have fellow Spartans that really care about this shit and care about the programs. And so I want to start there. And this is your bread and butter because you've both been on the field for this program, represented this program. The Michigan State football program as it stands right now. I think this is an objectively true, fair statement. 2022 is disappointing. For whatever, if you were on the they're going to win 11 again train, which was not that busy, or 7-5, whatever, I don't know anyone that was saying 5-7. So I think, is that fair to say as a starting point, we were disappointed with the season in terms of the win-loss record?
Absolutely. I mean, we get to 11-2, and after coming out of COVID where, Mel had to go through, we call Mel the COVID coach. Like, you take a job, you're in the pandemic, you can't recruit. So technically, after that 2 seasons ago, it was like, all right, this is what we brought Mel in to keep the tradition going. Kind of giving the keys from Coach D'Antonio, handing them over. You said, oh, we're back, right? We're back, 11-2. We only needed that terrible loss against Purdue. We probably would have been, CFP almost. But we would probably been good.
On the doorstep.
On the doorstep, right? Knocking, right? And so, it was great. I drove down to Atlanta with my father, like all the way from Fitton, Michigan, all the way down to Atlanta to go see this Peach Bowl. We come back, we have a glorious win against a former defensive coordinator, my defensive coordinator, Pat Narduzzi. Great. Boom, we're good. Fast forward, you're like, man, the season was like, what happened in the offseason? Like, there's a lot of questions of like, where was the development, or what was the momentum from that 11-2 season coming into this past season? It was very disappointing because there was things that I think we were a lot of self-inflicting wounds that I felt like we were kind of over and we should have been able to capitalize on. And it was just one of those like games we should have definitely won that we didn't win. And I think that's what kind of hit us hard with IU and, those those games where you're like, man, like, why are we getting beat up like this? Or, the 2 injuries, first game, you get Xavier Henderson and Darius Snow. It was
like
just
the
like
first half.
Yeah,
right? I mean, they were gone immediately.
Immediately. And so, granted, we had some injury bugs, but, you would think that we would have developed the younger guys to take the next step up, and it was a huge drop-off to where, one, I think this year we're going to take our lumps. We got a lot of experience that had game experience, and this year it's kind of put up or shut up. Like, everyone's looking at okay, it's down, but historically, Spartans, when we have a down season, we do have a strong season coming back. So let's figure out, we got to really focus on development in the offseason, and this spring is going to be a true testament when we have spring ball. Is what's the product going out on the field? Is it going to be solidified? Is it going to bring us some encouragement that will be good for next year? I'm just waiting to see.
I mean, you said it, 2016 bad, 2017 good, 2020 bad, 2021 good. Jason, where are you at on this? Are you with? I agree with everything Otis said, for the record. So, are you kind of in our boat, or were you saying secretly, even though maybe you didn't say it out loud, I don't feel too good going into 2022, and maybe this wasn't so shocking to you?
Honestly, I think that watching 2022 or 2021, actually going into 2022, the way that I did, I have a lens of an offensive lineman, right? And I'm watching the magnificent season that Kenneth Walker III had. But in doing that, you get a chance to watch, slow motion replays and things like that, because I'm seeing it with my own eyes. And it's hard to believe, because some of the things that he was doing, he literally did in spite of his blocking. So, there was no blocking there. You have 2 first-round talented guys in front of you, and you shake both of them and you're to the sideline and you score. That's not supposed to happen. That's what they always talk about, going beyond the X's and O's. He truly is that type of player where he actually went well beyond the X's and O's. So I say, okay, the offensive line still is going to get a little better. You're going to take the next step because they have experience now. And you just have unknowns. In this era of transfer portal, we hit a jackpot with Kenneth Walker coming in from Wake Forest. He wasn't a highly sought-after guy, 2-star from Nashville, wherever. He wasn't the guy that everybody what he turned into. But ultimately, now you bring in Jarek Broussard, you bring in Jalen Berger, and you're okay, they're gonna take that next step. And it seemed like they're for me, it wasn't the cohesion that you needed to see on the running game, pass protection early on. It rattled Thorne. Thorne was just not the guy that we thought he was the year before. And it just kind of spiraled out of control. I hadn't been around a team that would, as a defense, you would prefer them to be in 3rd and long than 3rd and short. That's what Michigan State had become in 2022. In my opinion, that it's just there's some critical things from an effort and critical thinking standpoint from hey, what is our scheme? Who are we? What is our identity? I know what Mel's saying. I know what he's saying, but the team has to take on that identity. And it's right now, I think, more difficult than we once thought because of the interchanging players constantly and the uncertainty in key areas. Those injuries that happen in the first half of the season, you always say we're programmed as football players. Next man up. But those guys, those weren't just great players. Those were the nucleus of the leadership. And when they both go down, I mean, that's just it's one of those things that's just kind of a lightning literally struck twice at the same time. And that's what happened. I think that Michigan State is, I don't know about, some crazy college football playoff season this next year, but the pieces they got in recruiting, I think, are great. I think those are huge building block pieces. Those are, not flashy picks, but solid. And you could tell this coaching staff understands film and how to evaluate talent. So I'm encouraged by that.
I try really, really, really hard to be objective, step outside of the Michigan State bubble. I go out of my way to read writers that I know are critical across the board. I go out of my way to read Michigan writers that I know hit our guts and I think take things too far in the other direction. Mm-hmm. But despite my best effort to come at this in a measured way and consider the other side, I still, after doing so, came back to this thinking people have the wrong takeaway about where this program's headed. I sat here with Justin Thinn from The Athletic. I don't know if you guys know Justin, but I know you've had some interaction and crossover with your show there in Birmingham, but the prior show. Mm-hmm. But he and I have the same take on this, where people are overreacting. Nobody liked 2022. But to pull one example, Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, his takeaway from the end of the Michigan State season. I want to see what you guys make of this. Ben, can you throw that up for us? So this is from Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, quote, "The task ahead for Mel Tucker is clear. Right this ship and quickly. The hopes were high. Recruiting looked strong. Tucker cast a big presence and personality. Then it all came unglued. Michigan State has been a mess this season. Mel Tucker should be better than this, and staff changes are likely. That big contract is a punchline, something for rival recruiters to poke fun at. Tucker better come right and quickly." The tone of that entire article, of which we excerpted one piece, was Michigan State's on fire. It's a catastrophe season. Mel Tucker better fix this immediately or this whole thing might sink. I think that's hyperbole. I mean, what do you guys make of that?
Man, that's
a little bit heavy.
That was a little bit heavy right there. Like, it's, we all saw the craziness around the recruiting this past summer, where it was, the cars, the glitz, the glam, and we were rolling the red carpet out, and we were very forward facing. And, you kind of get this sense of like the swag was on 10. Like, the swag was all the way up there, right? Like, we were winning in the brand standpoint across the board. Like, no one in the nation was that outstanding of a brand as Michigan State. So he won that, right? We won the hearts of all Spartan Nation alums, Spartan dogs. We were excited, right? And then you get to the games and you're like, man, like, where's the disconnect? Like, because that momentum was lovely. It was live. And then you get there and we can't even put a series together. We couldn't put a quarter together. And we were, when he said we're not playing complimentary football, it's like, what's happening, man? It's like you said, it's unraveling. And I think about like Tom Izzo playing basketball, where Tom Izzo every year gets questioned like he doesn't got it. He's lost it. And then you bring in a top 5 recruiting class every year. And like, it's the quickness of like, oh, well, let's write them off versus like people have down years, man. Like, you can't have a consistent year. But when you look at what we're paying and what Mel is making, the responsibility is way ahead of this. Like, you need to come with it. Like, you got to at least be above 500. You got to at least get the bowl game. It's like every year, at least get a bowl game. And so for that, looking at that, I think that's, like you said, that's pretty a lot. That's a bit aggressive. That's a bit aggressive, but yeah. Like, he still hasn't had a full recruiting class for 4 years. And we talked about the recruiting class as we highlighted. I was pretty shocked. I mean, I was shocked that we had that strong of a class to put together in the midst of having this bad season. So that mindset, in my mindset says Mel he has the staff and he has the direction of bringing these kids in here and saying, hey, we're going to win championships. And so, we talked to Jordan Hall and he was on our show. He's like, the season really didn't matter to me. It was all about the culture. And when you look at a culture, like, it's family. So, you're getting kids that are 5 stars coming from, they can go anywhere else, but they're like, I want to go there because I feel the love. And that's where you see, like, nobody else is like deep diving and looking at that. And so it's bigger than just the wins and losses. He's coming into this culture, and like, I think this season will have a different vibe and a different production or different result than what we had in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Thin, when he was on reacting to the same article, he made the point that the contract's not a punchline. That's actually a sort of a good sign to look at the investment in the program, and it's a sign of faith and its stability. So recruits don't care about that shit. I'm deferring to him because he's the expert on that. Stray, what do you make of this? Do you buy this whole we're on the brink of disaster and we're taking on water, or is it a little bit more measured and we're fine and big picture going forward, everything will be just fine in East Lansing?
So to answer that, I think that at the end of the day, no, everything is going to be okay. We are in good hands. I do believe that. And in the Spartan in me says, all those things that Otis said and what you just talked about, like, no, it's not that bad. But for me, being afforded the opportunity because of my sons and they are, in circles with other very, very good athletes that are being recruited nationally. And when I hear the feedback, because I'm just a dad, like when I'm around my kids, it's not a I don't wear colors. It's not colors. Like, hey, you better not. That's not the way that I am.
Like, you're going to see him in all black.
Yeah, neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah. Hey, we're talking about your sons later. I want to get more of that because I'm fascinated by that angle.
That's I'm giving you some insight. So, like, from here, I hear what the perception of Michigan State football is from no one's trying to like impress me. They just are giving it to, just talking to one another about it. And that article isn't far off from what some people may think of our program. And that's what I'm saying that, like, for us is to recognize that, not be afraid of that, like embrace the hard. You hear people say that, embrace that, and like take a real hard look in the mirror and say, look, we are not where we want to be. We're not. What are we lacking and what do we do good? And you have to build on it and be honest with that. Quit talking like everything's fine, we're going to be great next year. Like what you have to put the work in. I know the coaches are putting work in. I know they're trying, but collectively, there's things missing. Look, we talk about this a lot. The fan base has a lot to do with things. I'm not saying fans, you guys are down or this and that. I'm talking about the support. You think of what's the difference between the Big Ten and the SEC? Because SEC, I think the Big Ten has like more resources, but the people down there sometimes, like the fan bases, honestly, care as much as we talk about we care. They really care compared to how we talk about we care. So they put their resources where their mouth is. We talk a lot and we do a lot of things, which is good. I love Michigan State. I do, but I know that the love that I have for Michigan State also wants me to be honest with them, and that means we can be better than those guys. We can, because it's in us, but we just have to take that step. And once we do,
sky's the limit, brother.
Bro, what is the article I read where Mel said, why wouldn't you want to come here? We got 3 NBA owners. We've got 638,000 living alumni. Like, that is compelling, but it's what's the details in the middle of that.
So you said, I want to dive into it a little bit, because you said something that's really interesting, that your sons, and we'll get into a little more details of them later, but are both highly regarded up-and-coming recruits, 25 and 27 classes respectively. You're saying there's some elements of that Dan Wetzel stuff out there. What kind of stuff? Is it poking fun at the contract? Is it stability? Is it just, hey, they only won 5 games? Like, what is the nature of that negativity that's out there?
It's more of a confusion of what's the direction of that program. Like, what are they? What's the identity of Michigan State? Is it we're going to throw the ball? Or is it we're going to pass ball? Are we a strong defense? Are we about Lamborghinis and dogs? What are we really about? Are we about NIL or are we not about NIL? Those are the questions that the guys that we want to come here and play and have the same experience Otis and I had in Michigan State, but better because they're better athletes with better coaches. Hey, that would bring championships. In order to do that, we all have to have all hands on deck in order to get those guys here in the first place. Or we'll just be reading about them in 247. Justin and Corey will write about them all day long and like, oh, we lost out again. It's not always, we didn't lose out just because that guy messed up. Sometimes it's the person in the mirror too.
So do you not like, or do you think it's a disservice to Michigan State, the Lamborghini stuff? Is that a disservice to their program goals? The kind of showy cigar Lamborghini stuff?
Oh, what do we talk about? You said, look,
I don't think so, because like
I love it, but you gotta win.
Yeah, but these kids nowadays, like, they love the glitz, they love the glam, they love the material things, they love the swag, and yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But to your point, winning brings the brand, right? Winning brings the culture of, like, that's where I think Coach D was like, right now, I love Coach D, was my coach, but this day and age, he probably wouldn't thrive, because it was all about, let's do the right things, let's win games, and when you win games, people will come. And that was the point of the standpoint of that 11-2 season. We were like, oh, next season, it's undefeated. We're going CFP. But like that, where we need the winning to come. Now we have a facility coming out. Everyone used to recruit to, hey, this facility. When I came to Michigan State, the stadium tower. The stadium tower is being built. It's like,
that's a major.
It wasn't. It was. We still old school. And then I opened up the football performance center, like the Scandalaires. I was cutting the ribbon with Brian Hoyer, Justin Kershaw, Javon Rieger as captains, cutting that open, and it was like, oh, this is the foundation of the future. And then you look at what happened from when you built the facility, and then you fast forward, we're at the Rose Bowl championship, 100th year anniversary. We win against Stanford. Like, facilities do matter. You got to recruit. As a young kid, you say, hey, do you have the resources to develop me to get to the next level? Then it's not just next level NFL. It's like, do you have the facilities and resources to get me to become a productive citizen? If I'm done hanging up the cleats, I'm going to get a six-figure job, whatever. Like, it's a lot of those things that I think we're losing a little sight on. But, like, right now, it's about winning now. You look at Coach Prime, he's like, we're about to win now. Like, I don't care about facilities. I came from Jackson State. Like, I don't care about the facilities right now. We're going to bring some guys in here, and we're going to win the right way, but we're going to win now. And I think that's the standpoint of whoever touches foot into our program. Can we win now with these guys?
Did you see the video going around on Twitter this week of the facility?
I did.
Is that like a, wow, this is great for you guys as former players, or is there 1% that's like, where was this?
Absolutely.
You're gonna be a little jealous, right? Because, I mean, they redid my high school right after I graduated. I was not happy for those guys. I was like, fuck, where was this one? The door was falling off the bathroom stall when I was there. So it's 100% happy. I know it's obviously you're happy for the program, but there's not 1% that's like, shit, I wish I had.
First of all, the facility is going to be one of the elite.
It looks like it.
So Coach D, when he handed over the keys, he told Mel, if you do anything else, you need to build a new facility, because that's what was one of the regrets of like upgrading the facility when Coach D win.
It was the regret from Coach Antonio was when he got to the college football playoff.
Like, we needed to take that step.
He didn't take that step, and places like Clemson did. Clemson became the leader in, facilities. Facilities, let's be quite honest, again, and I feel like, damn, I'm never this negative. I feel a little negative.
The Spiro Avenue show tends to go pretty dark. This is a horror show in the studio most nights, so you're on brand, actually.
Trust me, I'm trying to be positive. This is more like, hey, did you know? Because I would like to know. Would you like to know? Like, those facilities don't mean they are almost like prereqs.
Like Band-Aids.
Not Band-Aids. It's not like, okay, you're covering something up.
It's just everybody real has one, yeah.
You got, if you don't, either you have it or you don't. If you don't have it, you're not in the game at all. We're just getting into the game, everybody. If you look at those images that are on Twitter and Instagram right now
3D
today,
virtual tour,
go to MSU Football, anywhere at MSU Football, you can see these things that we're talking about, the virtual tour. But that's not something that hasn't been seen before. It's good. It's awesome. It's the best thing we've ever had here. But I'm telling, just down the road, they have that. They've been having that. Okay, like if we're trying, who are we competing with?
Like Ohio
That's
State.
the question I always ask my friend. Like, look, guys, who are we competing with?
I mean, Mel seems to think, and I'm curious for your take on this, both of you. Mel has said openly, the second he got hired, I want to recruit guys that are a certain size, because you turn on the college football playoff and you look at these smaller teams getting pushed around. We see that again and again. When D'Antonio was hired, he talked about Rose Bowl and winning the Big Ten. We loved him for it. He delivered. Love him forever. But he never, to my knowledge, really talked about our goal here is to win national championships. Mel said that explicitly. Do you think it's a pipe dream that Michigan State can get there? Because people laugh if you bring that up. Anybody outside of East Lansing, mostly Michigan fans, the idea of Michigan State winning a national title is like preposterous. Like, people roll their eyes. Do you think that's attainable within the next 10 years?
Oh, 100% I do.
What does it look like? What does getting there look like? What are we not doing that we need to do?
Like I'm saying, it's the evolution of the fan support. It's the evolution of like the coaches, their scheme, the players that decide to come here. We have the support that we get the athletes, because that's really what Mel has always said from day one. Look, I can't coach guys that are not good football players. So if you give me good football players, I can coach those. 10 years in the NFL, his coaching, resume when you look at it. Coaching behind Tressel, Saban. I mean, good. Lots of very, very, very good coaches. He understands the game, know how to motivate guys, knows how to get. There's a difference. Let me explain that. There is a difference between how you coach a 5-star guy, that's an NFL guy, versus a guy who's a 2-star and you coach him up. Two different ways that you talk and reach that guy. Totally different.
Is it a coddling thing for the 5-star?
It's more of like, we're going to give you about 2 years to develop. Versus, no, you come here, you already got the frame, you got the speed, you got the size. It's all about the mental of like, we can teach you the X's and O's. You got the gift to run fast, sideline to sideline, catch the ball, tackle, hit hard. I think that's now the new wave now is that with Coach D was a huge, like, when I was John L. Smith, we were playing defense on like wristbands, right? Like we knew football, but we weren't required to know more football. And so when he came in, he's like, oh, we're going to teach you how to play faster, but you need to know the playbook. Get those wristbands.
Play fast. You were one of the safeties floating around on dinghies, so, famously in 06. Right?
Oh.
So, yeah, you had like your snorkel on, maybe.
on dinghies!
That was awesome.
I'm just that you were one of the guys because you were on that team. You were out there. We'll talk about coming out 5 wide, run the football, all that stuff later. I wish Colquitt were here.
We'll get him here.
Next time, but do you agree with Jason that this is attainable? I'm not going to say 50 years from now because who knows, but within 10 years, can Michigan State win a national title or be in the fourth quarter of the national championship game down 1 score driving?
Absolutely.
Like at least close.
Absolutely.
You believe that?
I believe that. I'm a full, you see put some faith in your voice, man. Yeah. Like I am fully, Tucker and how he speaks, like he speaks in like fruition, power of the tongue. In my life, life and death is the power of the tongue. Like he's always speaking positively about the direction that we are going. Like to his point, we need the support. Like, people think that, you can win championships without having those resources. Like, do you think Alabama and do you think Georgia is winning championships with no resources? Absolutely not. Like, I've been to the CFP. I've been to the national championship in Indianapolis and seeing Georgia, Alabama. Those fans are nuts. Those fans are crazy. They're avid. And our fans are crazy too. But to your point, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond it. Let's open up those checkbooks. Let's open up those opportunities to, when you win on the field, you win on the court, you win in every sport. Alabama, my family is from Tuscaloosa. My uncle was a pastor for the longest time. Winning brought all of those students to the university, right? Like people are going from California to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Have you been to Tuscaloosa?
I have. It's bucket list, man. I want to go like LSU, Bama for when they're both. Like,
I was in Baton Rouge too. Like they are going. They are going. They are going to those universities because of the culture of the sports. Like it's the open. Like we talk about the porch. It's the front door to the academia and the university. Like we're not saying we're bigger than university. We're just saying that we're attracting more than just our student athletes. We're attracting students to Michigan State. And so it just changes the demographic where if we are competitive in NIL and just being really winning against those teams on the road, Ohio State, USC, now that USC and UCLA comes to the Big Ten, like we now have 2 other competitors that we gotta save our kids from leaving and going to the West Coast because of weather. Like it's those simple things that I think that if we keep our talent and we go and be aggressive, yes, national championship. I'm saying within 5 years. That's my take.
I mean, we have a guy by the name of Dante Moore, Detroit Martin Luther King.
That goes to Oregon, yo.
No, he left Oregon.
Oh, he did left Oregon. You're right.
He's going to UCLA. He's down there with Chip now.
Jordan Brand, man. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Once he eschewed Michigan State, you didn't care where he went.
It's a thing, though.
Jordan Brand is a thing. That is
so dumb.
Isn't it?
It is.
On football jerseys, it's dumb. It looks so stupid.
But do you understand? Like that is the culture now, man. Like, and you gotta.
That's the currency.
If you don't adapt, you get lost in the wind, and it's sad because for the longest I was an old school guy. I was like, What about the university? What about the academics? What about the degree? Which is still true.
So you're more Cardale Jones now. I didn't come here to play school. Yeah. You're more
I'm all about, like, let's not forget that, like, because when you, as a black man, as an African-American man, the degree matters. I mean, it matters anyway, but I'm saying, like, you're getting a full ride on top of NIL and you get a degree. Like, you're winning right now in life. And so how do we play that? How do we sell that? That Michigan State is a prominent university. Land grant, agriculture. That's why I chose Michigan State, because agriculture, like, I'm a landscaping guy. I love doing that. But from a standpoint, I feel like that's been removed now. And, like, let's bring that back. But also let's bring the NIL, make it a top of the not, like, priority to bring these kids in. But let's not forget, you get here, you're a Spartan dog for life, and you'll get a great degree. Let's not forget that.
I'm dubious that we'll ever catch the South in passion. I don't know if I want to catch the South in passion.
Why not?
Because that can manifest itself in some pretty bad ways. There's people that are putting, like, for sale signs on coaches' lawns after a loss. I don't know that I want to engage in that. But I'm not saying we can't make giant leaps in passion or get close. I just don't know what that looks like. How do you even manufacture that? Michigan State had 3 top 6 finishes in a row, and I still say we didn't touch the passion of a crazy Alabama fan. I think where we can beat them is between the ears. And not saying anyone down there is dumb, but I'm just saying up here, I think we can be creative with NIL. I think there's ways to entice people to a program in other ways than look, the fans care a lot. I just, that's my approach. I think it's a losing battle. Maybe I'm the cynic and I'm the asshole. I think it's a losing battle to say we're going to achieve Georgia, Alabama level fan interest, fan fervor. I'm dubious. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't know how you get there. I think you can get closer. I think you can kind of beat them on the other battlegrounds, though. You mentioned 6 other areas, which I agree with, that I think headway can be made, right? So you think we can catch the Tuscaloosa fervor with the fans in East Lansing?
So it's not just the fervor. Like, I'm not saying go out there and poison the 200-year-old tree.
yeah, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Tell the judge too much Bama.
They're kidnapping the bulldog and shit. Like, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. Yeah. No,
and I wouldn't want us to.
You don't want to do that. It's more of, like, Otis talked about it. NIL. It's like the support. Like, for a long time, all that stuff was illegal, man. Shit was illegal.
NIL was a full ride for us, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying back in the day, right. NIL was that full ride for us. That was the motivating factor.
Yeah, it's a different world. You have to acknowledge that. Like, today's kids, they grew up with devices. They're connected to everybody. It's not the same as when we came out of high school, especially me. I was like pre-internet, dude.
Yeah.
VHS.
I still have VHS. You guys are a couple generations apart. Yeah,
I still have the VHS stuff. You gotta VHS.
Wheel out
to watch film, like popping in there. I still have
the beta.
Yeah, I still had that.
Yeah. Totally different with the clickers. You guys watch on they're on iPad.
Yeah, Huddle.
Yeah, they're on, like, the Surface Pro and all that shit now. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, Otis, and it's like, it's different from even when I was there now. It's completely different. Yeah. So, I mean, what's the actually, we'll go here. Ben, can you throw up the Ari Wasserman quote for me? Because Ari from The Athletic had a little bit of a more positive take on Michigan State. I want to go from here and get into this a little bit. So he has this concept of forced patience. Ari Wasserman from The Athletic, quote, "Anyone who has lost track of what Michigan State is trying to do has either taken their eyes off the ball or never understood the build to begin with. What Tucker is doing, trying to elevate Michigan State's stature in the recruiting realm, is not an overnight process. This is a 5-year plan if it works at all. Tucker's long-term vision has been paying dividends. The Spartans haven't arrived, but 4-star prospects are committing to the program in greater numbers. What could this look like in 5 years? Keep your eyes on the prize and never lose sight of the long-term vision." So Ari's got more of the Justin Thin, Justin Spiro, I think Otis Wiley position. Jason
Ari got some Spartan dog in him.
I don't think he has any affiliation.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, Jason's a little more skeptical, but not house on fire like Dan Wetzel.
No. Right. So that's pretty accurate.
That's
right
fair, right?
I like that because it's true. Like, where he's trying to go. Like you're right. He's gotten what 4 or 5 4-star.
I think it's the most 4-stars we've ever had.
Right?
Yeah. After a 5-7 season, which goes to your point. Look what he did in the midst of a bad year.
Right. So if we could take 10 years and like inch into this thing, maybe it works. But what I'm talking about is when I'm saying if you want to be like the Alabamas and Georgias of the world, I'm talking about now. Like he's saying, like it's time to win now. All that now means the difference between getting 4 stars and getting 4 or 5 stars is that support now. Just a little bit from everybody. That's what it takes. Like I know no one knows what the rules are. No, there is no whatever the rules are. Like here's this. Hey, we got to get that guy. We got to get some guys. Let's put the money in. You figure out the rule. Whatever. Let's do it. Here it's like we almost feel like we use the rules as a way not to participate.
It's interesting because even if we do the NIL component at an elite level, do you guys know who did the best job in NIL this past year? Texas A&M.
No.
Well, they did, but you see the backfire.
Well, measured by objective dollars.
Absolutely.
They were, yes.
But like that's a different world. Like I'm
just saying it's not as simple as whoever
different.
makes the most money for the kids.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
It's just,
I mean, but the culture there is like you talk to the kids that left there, the kids that are still there.
I mean, we got one. Right.
He's going to be here next week, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not just about hey, I got too much money, I'm leaving. No, it was more than that. Some of them were asked to leave. I mean, it's a real thing. There's a problem going on down there. You got kids smoking weed in the locker room.
Well, no, I agree. I'm with you. I'm just saying that it's not as simple as soon as we get the dollars dialed in, we're good.
Well, we have way more than what Texas A&M has today. We have more. I'm not saying that we're dog shit. We're not dog shit.
I'm talking real dollars that were committed to their class last year.
But I'm saying that you're talking about Texas A&M.
Yes.
That's not Michigan State. What I'm saying is there's 2 different cultures there. If you add money to one, it goes to hell.
Yeah.
You add money to the other.
That's fair.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Some are coming just because of the culture. Like they're like it'll come later, but like the other ones where we're trying to go after. Those are the ones they're looking at. They're getting a lot of suitors. They're getting a lot of offers, and they're waiting for us to get that offer because they want to come here. But they're also looking like,
I think we get a discount.
The dollar bill. Yeah,
I think we get a discount.
What's okay? So we're all within 5 yards of the same realm of where we're at with the program. I don't know that we're holding hands, but we can reach each other. So we're close enough. So we're not panicking. I actually feel very confident in the state of the program, big picture. They were way ahead of schedule last year.
Yeah.
What point do you waver a little bit? What does it look like? For me, it's what 2024 looks like. Now, if we go 0-12 this year, that's a whole other problem. But I'm looking 6-7 wins. Anything more than that's a bonus now. 24, I expect to be rolling again, double-digit wins. That's my personal. If 2024 doesn't look like we're contending to at least go to Indianapolis, I'm starting to say what's going on here. What is it for you guys? When are you starting to have concerns that you don't have right now?
To Ari's point, we're talking like how much patience do we have? How much patience does Spartan Nation have? And we talk about people forget this COVID year, the pandemic year. He truly hasn't had more than 2 years to truly do what he needed to do as a staff, right?
Yep.
I mean, he came in the middle, actually the last round, like last minutes of recruiting when Coach D resigned. Like he didn't even have a full year, and then COVID hit. So, how much patience do we have? And then on the flip side is, to your point, how do we get our guys? Like for me, I'm all about being competitive, like playing in the games and battling versus like rolling over. Like this past season, there was times where like we didn't even know who was showing up, man. Like who was coming off the bus. And so, in my opinion, like we may have a 5-7 season, but the games we were all competitive in. We can't say that for this past season. There was times where we were like we're not even showing effort or any like pizzazz or any motion. And it wasn't until that Wisconsin game, which I don't even know what happened.
Well, you got 2 of your defenders
True,
back.
True.
It was just huge.
True.
But
to that point, it's like, all right, I'm all about let's go beyond bowl eligible. Like, let's go beyond that. Like, I feel like that in this program, this culture, we should be bowl eligible every year. That's my opinion.
So you're saying it's more about what it looks like than a hard number in terms of win total. It's more about the competitive level. Because
like you can be battling in like the games you're supposed to win historically. You need to win. But like the games that we go in Ohio State to Columbus next year or this year, Michigan coming here, Penn State coming here, we gotta compete, and we gotta compete to the last final 0 minutes, right? 0 complete. Like we went to Penn State, we showed some glimpse, but we can't finish. And so, in that, my opinion is like, let's win what we can. Let's win the IU game, get a bowl eligible, but like we got to beat the guys and be competitive. Like I'm all about getting to at least 8 wins, right? Like 6 is like easy for this program, in my opinion. The guys we got in the locker room, that's easy. I think it's beyond that.
You got 3 or 4 almost built in. I mean, just with the nature of college scheduling. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, a couple of them you should always beat, like Central, and I mean, they've beaten us 3 times in their history, but you should always. Yeah. So no disrespect, but like you should beat them. Jason, where are you at on this? Like, what is there a point where if we're sitting here and we're 2-4 next year, are you panicking? Then to me, it's unless it's completely off the rails, I'm waiting till 24. That's me. You can call me crazy. That's what I'm waiting for. Where are you at?
What's completely off the rails?
I'm talking like 1-7. Like I'm just like we lose to Central. I mean bad. Even if we had a repeat of this year in terms of 5-6 wins, I still would not be like, got to fire Mel Tucker. I think it's premature. You got to let this class at least become sophomores before I start hair on fire.
Yeah. So when you're saying it's either we're doing okay, we're progressing, or fire Mel.
Well, man, I'm asking you, where are you at? Where you're like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about our direction. I believe now. What is Mel? I'm not saying you're at the point of firing him. When is the seed of doubt planted? Which is earlier than fire him territory.
You have to know that. I mean, what you got to pay attention to is how that locker room is and how that team is playing, how hard they're playing, or is that locker room intact?
Who's the leaders?
When the head coach loses the locker room, which is what happened at Texas A&M, then you have disaster. It just you can't really come back from that, and it can be triggered by a lot of things. So what I'm hopeful of is that we get the right character guys in here, guys that buy into his program, and they're going to be better athletes. That's a given. He's only going after high level athletes. He's not doing deals based off of who you know and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll get 2-for-1s. Like, there's some high schools that like to try to package guys up. Yep. Mel Tucker's not going to be that guy. He's never been. He's very well versed in how to find the guys that would fit his scheme. I think he hasn't had that yet. This is probably the year, in my opinion, they're going to be in the 8-win mark. If they're not, you cannot be a 2-win team. You can't.
I agree with that.
You can't.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is the most pivotal question going into next year. The most important position on the field in this sport, quarterback. There's a perception, and my understanding from conversations with people that have some knowledge of this, is that like any other position, there's no guarantee of anything. Peyton Thorne has not been promised anything. The source I talked to stopped a little bit shy of saying open competition. The incumbent has the leg up. But that job could be taken this year by Caton Hauser, is what I was told. I guess theoretically Noah Kim as well. What's your read on that? You're around this program, and notice I want to get your opinion too, but Jason, being as plugged in as you are, is Peyton Thorne just the incumbent, he's safe, or is there a real battle for that position going into this next season here?
I don't get the sense that anybody's safe. No one. There's guys that have a lot of experience that are coming back that are in line to do well, but nobody can come back and think that they can be where they were last year and play. I don't see that happening. Mel Tucker, he knows more than all of us the pressures that are coming based off of what has transpired, right? 2-5, 11-2, 5-7. He knows. It's similar to how I feel about when players mess up, they drop a ball or something like that, muff a punt. Do you think anybody cares more than that guy that happened?
Yeah. You mean do you think he wanted to go? Well, do you think he wanted to lose?
Yeah, they're not trying to fuck up.
Yeah, right. Not a little bit, and it's hard. This game ain't easy, man. to coach, especially the college game. It's a special game. I love it. I love the college game more so than the pro game. But it's the purity of it. It's getting less of that. It's a big time. This is big time, big high stakes football, man. That's what this is. Entertainment on its, what do you call it? Reality TV in real life. But you also have this component of like, these are students. These are kids just now becoming men, young men and women that are playing these sports in college. Now there's money involved. There's pressure involved because we've got the college football playoffs. We went from 4 teams to 12 teams. Are we going to get in there? And, it's a constant race. Everybody's looking for affirmation on their devices. And you have to be able to have that kind of coach, that kind of leader that can plug into that and be able to communicate with them. I think Mel Tucker is that guy. I think those guys are going to be harder and harder to find. I mean, the coaching world, it's so demanding on so many levels. You have to be young. It's, 45, 50 years old now in coaching. It's old. When I met Nick Saban, he was 40-something, at that time. Now he's in the 70s. So those guys are not going to be here anymore. So to be able to connect with these players like a Sean McVay, a guy who can talk to younger players and connect with them, this is what Mel Tucker has. This is what he brings, along with the experience. So I think that, look, we're in a good position. We're in good hands. But Mel has told you what he is, and he's a guy who can coach talent. And you got to get the talent here for him.
Well, I mean, speaking of talent, from my conversations, it's nothing against Thorne. It's pro Caden Hauser. Everyone that talks about Caden Hauser that has seen him in practice said this guy's level of talent is just not really common for what we've seen come through this program. He is special. I don't know. I haven't seen him throw a ball ever. So, I mean, he said in my studio, he was a great kid. I've never seen him play. Mm-hmm. I've seen his highlight tapes from high school. But, I mean, Otis, I'll throw it to you because, being a former player like Jason, if you're in your spring ball, your off-season program, and Caden Hauser is clearly better in that situation than Peyton Thorne, don't you, as one of the teammates, want the guy who's clearly better? And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but hypothetically, you would want Caden Hauser on the field despite the lack of experience, right?
I mean, absolutely.
You want the guy that looks better this offseason.
I mean, as a defensive back, like, if I'm going against those guys, yes, absolutely. Like, I know that, if Caden Hauser or Noah Kim, whoever's throwing the better ball and is completing passes on the defense and moving the ball, like, I'm going to say that dude is a dude. Like, why is he not getting some time? And, to the point of, your source or, we were seeing Caden Hauser obviously in practice, but like, I feel like if you're a coach, and I haven't been a coach, but only on the high school level, but if you're playing great ball, like if Caden Hauser's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and it's proof that he is doing that, yeah, he should be put in. Like, I feel like Peyton Thorne, that 11-2 season, yeah, he had a great season because guess what? We had a great run game. And allowed him to do whatever he needed to do, is sit back there and do what he's good at, is throwing that rock, right? Because you had a great balanced attack. Now, fast forward the next season, our run game was non-existent. So then Peyton's like, man, I can't even get time to throw the ball, or my timing's messed up because I'm like, I'm feeling heat on my blind side, or I can't even be comfortable. And then when you get Noah Kim coming in, he's getting garbage minutes, and he's driving down the field. You're like, everyone's like, yo, like, what is going on, right? So to your point, I feel like we're going to see in spring, that's that year where we had Kirk Cousins and Keith Nickel. Do you remember that year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Nickel camp coming from Oklahoma, he was more decorated.
Absolutely.
The Nickel camp was
behind
stronger.
Sam Bradford, and, Sam Bradford won the Heisman that year, right?
Yeah.
He was.
I think it was like the following.
It was the following year, but he was running.
The second year he left, and then that's when Sam Bradford broke his collarbone.
Yeah, he was.
He been the starter,
right? And Nickel was Damian Terry before Damian Terry, like the darling of the fan base.
Absolutely,
ever doing it.
But I feel like we're going to see an outright battle, and I feel like if you're smart enough, you gotta open it up. because I don't feel like the way Peyton did his results this past season, he hasn't earned the right to have that secured and having that starter on his tag. So I feel like let's keep it open spring, leading into the summer, and then camp. And you got to have someone announced by the time we get to like that first week of camp.
Very fair. I think it's going to be whoever looks better in camp. I think that's where it's at. I don't think there's any sacred cows in that program, just generally, not just for that position. I do want to go a little bit more into your sons because I'm fascinated by this, Jason. So, I mean, we talked.
That's the legacy of the Strayhorn name, man. Here we go.
Now, I almost never pre-screen topics with my guests. I tell them the general premise of what we're talking about, but when I'm talking about a guy's kids, I did talk to Jason earlier today. I was like, is it cool if I bring up your kids?
Yeah.
So, because I didn't know if you'd be comfortable. But I'm fascinated by this angle. So, we hit on it briefly, but you have two sons, Caden and Cody.
Yep.
We said 05 and 07. All right.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So, there we go. Yeah, so that's your older son on the left there with Mel, and the younger one is Cody on the right. So, Caden and Cody.
Yeah,
and obviously
2 summers ago,
you're Michigan State.
And you see them now, yo.
Oh, I know. Well, they wouldn't. The current pictures wouldn't fit on the screen. Actually, so we had to go with a younger version of those guys. But so they're highly decorated. I mean, I know both have formally received offers from Michigan State. I don't know about your younger son, Cody. I know Alabama is really interested in Caden. Obviously, your Michigan State bona fides are without question. I mean, you're a former player, Spartan Radio Network. That goes without saying. Cut you open, you're bleeding green all over the table. How do you balance that where Michigan State wants these guys? These are your boys. And you bleed green. Do you completely recuse yourself? Whereas I don't think a father normally would. They would be weighing in. Like, how do you handle that? Because you're inherently biased. I mean, you have to be. How do you handle that?
Basically, before you start, it's like, are you a LeVar Ball?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Are you the big baller brand?
If you were that, we would already know. If you were that, we would have to ask.
I'm just teeing it up.
Yeah, right. No.
Yeah.
Big baller brand.
Yeah, that's one extreme. Yeah.
No, like it's peculiar in my opinion because, I have, affinity for Michigan State. I went to Michigan State. I love Michigan State. There's no doubt. My kids grew up in green and white. They've been, since Caden was, before he could hardly walk, he was putting on Spartan helmets in the equipment room. My wife was pregnant with him. We were at a former player dinner. You know how they do those dinners? They bring back some classes and they'll have us go through the pregame meal.
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and Alicia was pregnant with Caden, and some old time, one of the guys that played in the 50s or something. Right? He comes by and he goes, "That's a Spartan," right to her belly, right? So, it's been in our family forever, right? Don't get that twisted. But it's when the recruiting starts, you go, okay, I know what this means. There's a lot of things that come out to kids and they don't really understand because they don't have the experience that I've had, that Otis has had as a player. As a former player, you've been through this recruiting process. You know how this thing goes. You know how coaches may talk, what they may promise, you understand the flow. When they act a certain way, body language or communication, what that really means. Sometimes guys feel like, for instance, coach is hard on me, he hates my guts. But we know when coach is hard on you, what does that really mean?
He respects. He expects more out of you. You're a great player.
It's when the coach.
They're not talking to you.
Yeah. It's when the coach stops talking to you. But there's a lot of young men and girls that have left the sport that they're in because someone is hard on them. And I am that resource for my sons. I navigate through their process and let them make their own sound decisions. And look, you're talking kids in the 7th grade and 10th grade, 8th grade, getting these offers. I'm like, we got a long way to go, guys. There's a lot of development, a lot of hard work that they do. They're extremely focused. Hardworking, humble guys. I couldn't be more proud of all 3 of my kids, the way they've progressed. But understand that this is their journey. This has to be something that will develop them in the best way for them. Who is to say who the coaches are here at Michigan State when it's their turn? They're not seniors right now. We got some time. 10th grade, sophomore and 8th grade. So we have some time. So we'll see how things play out, you know. And when the chips all fall down, you know, then obviously Dad will be here to talk to him, you know. There will be some weighing in for sure.
Can you at least get one of the two for us, please? I think two might be a little, like, let one go to Alabama.
Oh my goodness!
But you can't go 0 for 2. People are gonna start looking at you. People are gonna start looking at you funny up there, man. I mean, you got some people to answer to up there. If you got 2 blue chip guys and you don't deliver, you got to deliver one into our arms.
Okay,
right? You take your pick because they're both such high end guys. Recruiting's not my beat, but. I want one of them there for the Strayhorn legacy.
Like Justin, let's keep it. We're gonna keep it 100. I feel like this is a show that we're able to be ourselves.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So, who's the last offensive lineman that got drafted out of Michigan State?
I mean, Conklin was the first rounder. Was there somebody?
Brian Allen, right?
Oh, Brian Allen. Allen. Yeah. Sorry, Allen family.
Now, we're looking at the team down in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
We're talking every year. Every year. These kids are looking at that trajectory like, I'm 99.9%. If I go to Alabama, even if I don't start maybe 1 season or 2 seasons, I'm going against top talent that prepares me to go to the league. And like that's where we got to look at.
That's what we're trying to build.
We're talking about. We're talking about that.
But it's a chicken or egg though, because I think if we got that same prospect in East Lansing, they would be in the draft too. Because is it because it's Alabama and they're incredible? Those kids are 5 stars when they get there.
I told the support. Yeah, absolutely. You got to get the talent.
So if I get the 5-star, I think we can put them in the league too.
But you can't just get them. How are you going to get them? How? You got to work for it.
It's a chicken and egg thing. Yeah. What I'm saying is like the insinuation is like, oh, if I go to Bama, I'll become that. No, bro, come here. We'll get you there too. Right? I mean, Alabama's not doing anything magical.
Yes, here right now. I think we're. As far as development wise, 5 stars, yes.
Okay.
We're just on par with Bama. We could have a factory of 5 stars, but we can't get one. We can't get one. Not yet. And what did Bama have this year? They signed 7.
Who was our last? Was Malik McDowell a 5-star? I think he was. I think that was our last 5-star in the program. It was like 10 years ago.
Right.
9 years ago, whatever it was.
And that's where they're looking at. Like, if I come here and I'm going to spend 3 to 4 years in your program, I know that every year, and this is across the league, Nick Saban in that program, Michigan, Ohio State, they have the respect factor of the player personnel and the recruits and the pro scouts. So when you go in and like, where do I get my beastiest, meanest lineman? Are you coming to Michigan State? I mean, that's a real question.
No, ask him. He's got 2 of them in his house.
But that's where like these young kids are looking like, man, like that's where I think that's what the competitive edge in recruiting is like. I just put in, 25 offensive linemen the past 5 years in first round, second round. You will go to the league, and like for us, we're 1, 2, 3 every 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And the statistics, numbers don't lie. And so how do we change that tide is like right now we got some beastie defensive linemen and we have some decent offensive linemen, but how do we get that? And that's where I think to his son's point, like I'm all about, man, yeah, let's bring the Strayhorn brothers in. Let's have a family affair.
At least one.
Because I know that when one goes somewhere, like he's going to be traveling to those games, I might lose him to the radio. He might not be the voice no more, right? We can't have that. So how do we change that? And we got to do something. And I don't know what
I do remember my son crying like a baby when I told him I wasn't going to stop when he went to high school because he was playing in games and I didn't want to miss his games. And he cried. And I'm like, why are you crying? Because he's like, because I don't want you to give up that spot because I want to take over for you when you're done.
Yeah, I love that.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, we'll do he'll follow you in two areas there.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, so that's in there. That's in there. But again, to what Otis is saying, it does matter where things are, now. And I'm not saying this from some like, hey, man, we suck. It's not that. I think that we're great. I think we're doing a great job. We just have to land the talented individuals, man. I mean, you said chicken or egg. That's what I'm saying. That mindset where you're just like, it's a chicken or egg? Shit, man. Look, we're telling you what to do, man. Like, I don't know what else to say.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It doesn't waver. Those guys right there, they want to come here. Those highly talented individuals, you got to speak their language. That's it. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Those guys, I haven't heard one of them talk about 4 or 5 years. They all say 3 years.
Yeah.
That's what they think. Though if you want to win, that's the kind of mindset you're going to have on campus. You're going to have guys that think. Now, we know that it's not going to work out for everybody. Everybody's not going to go 3. But some of those, Ohio State, look what they're doing. Look at how they do these things. I mean, it does exist in places where you get a factory of 3-and-out guys.
Yeah.
Why not us? Or do we just want to have the guy that comes in and wants to be a great chemical engineer? If he wants to be that or a veterinarian, I don't know how you could do both.
Yeah, Kate Hauser wants to be a surgeon. He can do both. He can let him sling it, and he can get the scalpel.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
dissect the defense, dissect the body.
That guy can marry my daughter all day long. What do you think?
I saw one of your boys in decked out Michigan gear. I know the Michigan's poking around. At least your older son for sure. No Michigan, right? Because we're gonna finish on this Michigan topic. Otis is cracking up.
You said it's not legal, it's not possible, but it's still funny that he said that.
I'm with you on that.
That personality can marry my daughter. Not
well,
that
you gotta
guy
have
right
a high
now.
standard for that. Yeah, I mean, I got a daughter too. It's like you better have like a crown. You better be royal family. The boys can kind of do whatever they want.
Right.
I got the same breakdown. 2 boys and a girl. You got
2 girls, man. It's like
you got 2 girls. You're totally
ready.
fucked. Yeah. It's like get the dungeon out. My wife's like, that's sexist. I'm like, I can't help it. You don't understand the daddy-daughter thing. It's like my boys just don't die and you're fine. And the daughter, it's like, no one can even go near her. Right. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about this Michigan thing. I don't know how long this is going to go, but there's a reason I'm doing this last. For one, I care a lot more about Michigan State, but 2, I know anytime anybody with a green shirt on talks about Michigan, it's you're obsessed, little brother stuff. To me, I think this is worth tackling. This past season, I think it went to a point in this rivalry that is the low point. I think that's one of the few things both sides can agree on. There's a specific element that I want to attack tonight. What I view as their hypocrisy. And there's plenty of bad on both sides, and not to do the both sides routine. But the hypocrisy we've seen the last few months, in my opinion, is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it in sports. You have the news again, just broke out today. They formally dismissed their offensive coordinator, Matt Weiss. Yeah. Those circumstances, I'm sure we'll find out soon. But this relationship between the 2 programs right now, as bad as it is, I think it's been heightened by what I view as a disparity in how, whether you call it the media or the institutions, how they handle each other. I think Michigan State is viewed differently. So let's lay out the timeline here. You have the tunnel incident in October. Jim Harbaugh, right after the game, and then the next day in longer form, addresses this incident and what his expectations are for punishment to Michigan State. Ben, let's roll that, please.
The ABC tunnel cam, it's in a higher elevation that shows much more of what took place. As I said, those are sickening to watch. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be a full, thorough, timely investigation. I can't imagine that these will not. That they won't. I can't imagine that this will not result in criminal charges. An apology will not get the job done in this instance. There should be serious consequences for the many individuals that are culpable.
So a lot of talk of accountability, and we have, at the time he's making those statements, at that exact time, a pending felony gun charge against one of his prominent players, Mazi Smith. This incident with Mazi Smith in Washtenaw County occurred before the Michigan State game. He knew all about it in that clip while he's talking there. So Harbaugh made those statements about accountability and Michigan State being held to account for their actions, knowing that Mazi Smith was receiving no punishment whatsoever when he had full autonomy to do that. So we have this demand for accountability in real time. Here's what I think accountability looks like versus what it doesn't look like. Ben, let's throw that up. You guys tell me if this is fair. As a measure of program accountability, Michigan State side of the ledger, you have 1 felony charge and 6 misdemeanors. Their punishment all the same, suspended for the rest of the season as it occurred 4 games, as it were. Mm-hmm. You go to the right side, Michigan. 1 felony weapons charge for Mazi Smith, punishment None. And what I've heard when this comparison is made repeatedly from one side is, oh, you can't compare the two. What Mazi Smith, it was a paperwork issue, whatever. Let me tell you who doesn't give a fuck about Michigan State. The Michigan compiled laws, the MCL, the code of which we all have to operate in as members of this society in the state of Michigan.
Correct.
The MCL says that one's a felony. Mazi Smith was a felony weapons charge with a harsher sentence than Kari Crump's potential sentence had they both been convicted to the fullest extent of the law. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that a felony is worse objectively than these 6 misdemeanors. So miss me with that whole, oh, you can't compare one to the other. Yes, I can, because I'm biased about Michigan State. Those people that say that shit are biased about Michigan. MCL doesn't give 2 hoots in hell. They say one's a lot worse, not a little bit worse, not a worse felony. A severe felony versus misdemeanors. I think it's insane that Jim Harbaugh went up there and demanded essentially charges, knowing what he knew about his guy who had played in the game in question. What do you guys make of that? Is there some disparity there, or am I crazy?
Man, look, 2 words, man, the blue wall. That's it. It's a real thing. You saw it in black and white in that situation that unfolded when you saw that Mazi Smith was charged conveniently right as he was boarding the plane to go to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game, which he was captain. I saw him flipping the coin and, played every down that they asked.
Let's talk about that video where they won the Big Ten championship and he's in the background.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he's playing with the doing the gun thing.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, you haven't seen that?
With the trophy.
Man.
With the trophy.
What?
Yeah, with the
How
trophy.
did I miss that?
Oh, we got to get that to you.
We got to get that to you.
Michigan State Twitter got to tag me, and they let me down on that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have been in the show prep. What the fuck? Can we go to break for a minute? He was posing with the guns.
Oh man,
not the guns, just his fingers.
He's like,
well, no, I know that he's not literally having guns.
No,
but he's doing like the finger.
And he's dancing, he's like parading, like that.
Honestly, good for him. I'm not even mad at him.
It's not his.
If I got away with murder,
career.
I'd probably dance on the grave of the fools that let me get away with it too. But it's like, to me, that's insane.
It is.
The Harbaugh thing's insane. I'm not even the Mazi Smith thing. I was very consistent. I wasn't demanding justice. I think it was not much ado about nothing. It's a felony weapon charge. It's a serious matter. But I didn't want to see that kid punished. I was happy that it got pled down to a misdemeanor. It's not about that. It's the difference in you got
energy.
what. I don't know a single Michigan State person. Maybe they're out there. I don't know them. I know most of the prominent people on this media side anyway. I don't know a single one that was calling for Mazi Smith to have some severe punishment. You can't say the same for Michigan fans who were demanding these guys be locked up, calling them thugs.
Listen, when we did our podcast and we talked about this,
this is Spartan MSU.
Listen, this is Spartan MSU. we did our deal. We talked about it and we addressed it. And we looked at the comments. I mean, it was outrageous. Like, because we talked about, like, it's black and white. Like, it's such a discrepancy in how it was handled. Like, the energy behind it. The one thing I feel like initially, if Harbaugh would have stepped up there and said, you know what, this has happened 2 times prior to this game. It's on us. It's our operations. We shouldn't have our players running there by themselves after this heated rivalry. I would have been like, respect, because clearly it's operations. You got professionals. You got police officers standing in the tunnel. Like, let's have some ownership and responsibility. And then we get charged with a fine, 6-figure fine, and then we go and say suspend our players, which luckily our players have additional years to play. But like, if Jacoby Wimon could have kept playing, he would have had a great resume to go to the league. Instead, you pause because it's this type of issues of like, we just go crazy. 1,000 other side of like the energy of, oh yeah, we're criminals, we're thugs. Yeah. And
you're the other extreme though. I think that's asking a lot for Harbaugh to go up there.
I know it is. I know it is.
That's the other extreme.
That's in reality. That's in the perfect world. But they never took ownership.
Well,
they never took ownership until the Big Ten Conference finally said, Michigan, your operations and game operations. It's not just the Michigan State game. It happened the next with Illinois and Penn State with James Franklin and then Brett Bielema. They've all came out and
Ohio
said,
State last year.
Yeah, they've all came out and said, "Oh, there's none of that's happened in the tunnel." Well, BS, man. Come on, man. Like I've ran down that tunnel and I mean, we're ready to go. Like we're ready to fight, yo. Like this is bigger than that. And so, in that standpoint, when he's doing that press conference, and to your main point, all this has been they've known in the back pocket that their own player, mind you, Donovan Edwards is anti-Semitic messages on Twitter. He's playing, like let's come on, man, like just give it equal.
Yeah, Ben, can we run the Donovan Edwards? So Jim Harbaugh is asked about Donovan Edwards. This was after the same press conference we just played, but a different portion of it. They're asked. It's Renier Saban, to his credit, from the Free Press, was saying, "Hey Jim, what's going on with Donovan Edwards? Like, why did he not sit for a half or anything?" And this was Jim Harbaugh's response to why Donovan Edwards received no punishment whatsoever for his anti-Semitic retweets.
Jim, what was the rationale behind starting Donovan, a couple days after the retweet of the anti-Semitic content?
As you know, that was a mistake, an inadvertent tweet, something that he apologized for making that retweet. Talked to Donovan. I know the kind of person Donovan is. Donovan clearly explained who he is and what his position is, and that was sufficient.
So, I mean, you hear him say explicitly it was inadvertent. We remember the famous defense that's a glitch that came from the kid himself. And it's the same thing. The Michigan State fans didn't want that. I certainly didn't want Donovan Edwards, suspended for the year or thrown in jail for his tweet or whatever. And it's the same thing with Mazi Smith. We're coming at this in general with more grace, I think. It's just like, where's the accountability? And we hear so much about renegade program, thug program, and all the racially tinged stuff that comes along with that. When we have that graphic up there that we showed earlier, showing here's what our guys did, they were done for the year without even due process, by the way. I mean, due process came later. They were done without due process. You go to the right column, nothing. To me, who's the renegade program here? Am I crazy? Who's the renegade program?
Who's the renegade, bro? Boys over in A Square, huh?
Man,
it's not ours.
You know what's crazy? It's like he said sorry, and so I know Donovan as a person, but then he says to us like, apology is not gonna suffice.
Yeah,
right.
It's like, what's up, man? Like
the worst part's the inadvertent. Like, get out of here with that shit. Inadvertent. Yeah, now you're just lying.
Twitter fingers turn to trigger fingers.
A quote tweet.
Well, you got
it was a quote tweet.
Yeah. You got glitch, inadvertent. Like, come on, man. Like, first of all, there were at least two. I know it was more than one. There were multiple retweets. So you could maybe...
You should have just blamed it on Elon Musk.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not even saying...
Donovan's a great kid. I can't get mad at him.
He is.
He's a great kid. He is.
Oh, he's my favorite player on that team. But the whole point. It has nothing to do with him. Yeah. I think that he should have sat for a half or whatever. But you're demanding accountability over here for your enemy, I guess. And your guys kind of do whatever the fuck they want. A 5-year potential felony weapons charge. Mm-hmm. Speeding around. I mean, it's come on.
The question is, what are you preparing for riding around with that type of ammo?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that.
I mean, you've been there. What are you riding around?
I have not been. I've not been there.
You have not been there?
Carrying around a weapon?
No, I'm talking about in Ann Arbor.
Oh, in Ann Arbor.
To Washtenaw County.
I tried. How do you even get that fast? It's a bunch of 18-mile-an-hour one-ways. I don't even know how that guy was going that fast without killing somebody. I saw that he's going 65. Like, where in Ann Arbor can you go 65? I was like, I've been in Ann Arbor.
That's why he got pulled over.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, how did that kill somebody? Like, Ann Arbor's not built for 65, man. I don't know, if you guys have been there often, but that town ain't built for 65. I can't believe something bad didn't happen just based on that speed. I'm frustrated by it. I think there is some racial component here. Now, I'm the white dude. You guys are not white dudes. So, I mean, we're kind of on different planes. You have a different perspective that I could never have. But put simply, and we'll move on after that, if Mel Tucker is a white guy and the 7 players involved in the tunnel were white guys, Is everything exactly the same in terms of the fallout and the thug social media commentary? Is everything exactly the same, or is there at least some difference based on skin color?
Man, listen. Remember when I went on WLNS and we did a live promotion of the podcast, and I said the exact same thing.
This is Spartan MSU.
And I legit almost like, if I was not confident who I was and like, I don't care. I don't care what people think of me. I only answer to one man, is that God, right? If I look at those comments and how they were coming at me with like, oh, they always talking about it's about race. It is the truth, man. Like what Coach D went, like I love Coach D, but like would he have had to go through this? Like if he
I don't
was the
think
coach?
so.
Like because I mean, think about it. When we got the little brothers incident, like Coach D sounded the alarm and said it's never over. We're coming back with some vengeance. Like we started this like full out, like it's time to go. Like we're never gonna just sit, stand still. Like we're not gonna be secondhand to Michigan. Like we all tie our shoes the same way. But like I said that racial thing about, think about it. Let's flip the script. I mean, the comments were coming in, man. Like about why do we always turn it to race? It's the truth. It's the facts.
I think it can be proven. Xavier Henderson broke up the fight, scuffle, incident, whatever you want to call it. People get really mad if you call it a scuffle, like you're minimizing the Holocaust or something. It's like, relax. God. Like everybody, whatever you call it. Right. Xavier Henderson broke that up. Mm-hmm. Go on his Instagram right now from that week or month even, and read what people are saying on his posts that have nothing to do with anything.
Now let's talk.
Go to Bryce Behringer's, Peyton Thorne's.
Let's talk about how
not there.
Never in history does a coach have to have escort service and protection because the coach is being threatened from that team down the road and their fan base. Never in history. I mean, is there coaches have to be an escort to his coach's show, around his house? Like, that's where I'm coming from on the base of it was fully a racial thing, in my opinion.
I think partial. I think D'Antonio would have gotten pushed back and would have been criticized roundly and would have been called he's out of control of his program, whatever. But I think it would be less intense, and you wouldn't be getting innocent parties that are white guys, which we saw. They weren't. Yeah. I mean, Xavier Henderson, the hero of the story from the Michigan State side, honestly the most honorable one on either side in the whole thing, in my opinion, thug this, renegade
look
that.
Look at Tom's. Tom finally publicly had said,
he was fed up.
Yeah, fed up because it's like he's been in this for a long time. When that judge also requires you to, we need them to take a breathalyzer. They can't come back to Ann Arbor to play the game. Like
that's crazy.
Crazy.
Caden and Cody can't go there, man. Don't let it happen. My best friend, my best friend and my best man at my wedding went to Michigan. By the way, but he's a pro athlete. He's a pro hockey player still. He's still playing now. He's the highest drafted Michigan hockey player ever until Owen Power went 1-1 last year. I talked about the tunnel incident with him. And we'll finish here other than our little speed round. He said, this is the Michigan guy. He's a diehard Wolverine. He saw the footage. And he said, honestly, if he's plays with Justin Advocator, former Michigan State player, they were there at the same time.
Who's a great guy, by the way.
He said if Justin Advocator skated up our tunnel after beating us, after Michigan State beat us, and went anywhere near us, he would have got knocked on his ass. That's the Michigan guy saying that. It's not excusing it. And he said you can't do it. Like you can't. Everyone agrees about the helmet stuff, but I do think there's some shred of culpability for going up there solo in two different cases and going into a mass of people. I mean, you guys both played. That's the Michigan guy saying if a Michigan State guy came up in our mass of people right after that. Rumors. I talked to multiple people that were there that said they were jawing, whatever. I mean, is that not a fair assessment that there's some culpability? Less than 50, I'm fine with that. You're at least 10% culpable for marching up in there, right?
Absolutely.
You're asking for. It's like you're going into a bar, a biker bar, and you go in there and a mass of bikers and you talk some shit. I don't think you deserve to get your ass beat. I'm not going to be like, don't press charges against those guys. But like,
man, that's like a rival gang walking in there. Like,
but their whole thing is he's going to see his dad. I don't buy that.
It's a violent sport. It's a violent sport.
You saw Taylor Wine's little podcast where his buddy was on there saying like, hey, look, you're going to run up in there, you're going to get tossed up a little bit. That's just what it is. He said that. which is true. Like that's like a guy thing, a jock thing, or whatever. I mean, you know, like just a human respect thing, in my opinion. I think if I were to like bound into somebody's grocery cart in a Kroger line, they'd be a little ticked off at me. You know, they might push me if I get all up in their mix. You know,
yeah,
they're trying to pay at the Kroger bagging lady. You know, and I just run all up through there and like, hey, I won.
Yeah, you don't deserve to get your ass beat, but you're not inviting anything good. Ben, play the Mazi Smith thing. We'll finish there and then our little speed round. This is, to me, accountability or lack thereof in a nutshell. This is Mazi Smith. I didn't even see this until this morning, and we added this late. Mazi Smith talking about Jim Harbaugh standing by him and choosing not to suspend him for the gun incident.
Well, it's all love, man. Forever indebted, you know what I'm saying? And just so appreciative, you know, that he didn't let this game get taken away from me.
Were there moments where you thought like that he might have been done playing for the season?
Nah. I talked to Coach Harbaugh the first day that I had that happen, and we were on the same page from the get-go. You know, a lot of people say, you know, hiding it, sleeping it under the rug. But to be honest, it ain't everybody's business until it is.
He was arrested and had a felony gun charge that has a 5-year prison term potentially. And he just said, at no point, if you weren't watching, just listening, he's like rolling his eyes, miss a game. What are you talking about? I knew from day one that was never even on the table. And then he has the chutzpah to say it's really no one's business
until it is.
He's offended that anyone would even inquire about a felony weapons charge. Does that not? And that's not about him. That's about the program, to borrow Mark Antonio's phrase. Is that not an indication right there of this guy didn't even think a suspension was on a table? Doesn't that say something?
I mean, it says a lot. It says a lot. Like we talked about. Like do we know what the blue wall is? Like it's a real thing.
The blue wall is the media, though. This is an institutional thing, though.
You can have it's institutional. It's not just media. No, to me, it's.
You think the blue wall is part of the institution?
They're connected.
Typically, blue wall means the media is giving them the soft pedal because
they're connected.
I mean, the media was connected. The media was like they were attacking it. Like
you can choose to do the right thing, even though the media is nice.
Do you think
the blue wall lets them off the hook? Like to me, that's look. How did I just see that this morning when I'm researching the topic? That should have been viral.
We talked about like none of this story came up when the CFP, like none of that. Like, but when we played every game past that incident, that was on national every time. ESPN highlights, Fox, whatever whatever network we was on big.
Yeah,
it was always on the tunnel incident, the tunnel when we played. But when Michigan played, leading all the way up to the CFP. None of that was open. None of that was playing or rolling about the be real.
I'm not sure that casual fan even knows who we were fighting in the tunnel.
Probably not.
You know, some casual fans mix up Michigan State versus Michigan, so they say, "Yeah, you guys were fighting." That's all they know. But it was not. You're absolutely right. Like their games, they didn't talk about.
I was waiting on it.
They talked about it ad nauseum.
Yeah, constantly. I don't think Gus Johnson even mentioned the Mazi Smith thing in the Big Ten title game. I mean, I watched it off and on. I didn't hear anything about it. Like, how was that not mentioned? Like that little clip should have been mentioned. I mean, the fact that he's I can't.
I've never seen that before.
I never seen it. I stumbled into it researching for tonight. I couldn't.
He was very comfortable.
You have to actually watch it because some people just listen to our show. You know, we're podcast form. You have to watch it. I mean. Am I being unfair? His body language was just like,
it was like,
bro, like
I got protection.
Yeah,
I got protection.
He was extremely comfortable. If I were arrested on a felony gun charge, like I would not be. I would be hopeful that I would get off with a slap on the wrist. He didn't get a slap on the wrist. He got a back rub. I can't believe that.
So now you're the 4-star, almost 5-star athlete, and you're trying to decide where to go to college to go. You know, spend the next 3 to 4 years of your life.
Yeah.
And you see that play out. Those two scenarios. What do you prefer?
Couldn't that go either way, though? Because some people go to Tom Izzo because I want to be held accountable.
What are you talking
about? We're talking about that.
I'm
We're
talking about the football
you,
program right there. Those two things that happened. The tunnel incident and the gun incident. Those things that you lined up.
Based off the punishments, where would you choose to go? You got protection.
4 games.
Versus...
If I'm the kid, I go to Ann Arbor. If I'm the parents, I want them to go to East Lansing.
Why?
Because they're going to hold my kid accountable. Same reason they go to Tom Izzo. I know he's not going to let my kid fuck up and, you know, he's like a third parent up there. So it depends what you're asking. If you're asking the kid, yeah, I want to go to the country club, you know.
What if your kid's a little edgy and you know he's going to, hey, look, you know, you got to really watch him. He's a little different, but he will get you ball. He will win.
I would send my kid to Tom Izzo or the football equivalent, which I think Mel Tucker is, by the way. He's suspended a whole fucking lot of them.
Absolutely. I'm just asking.
It depends who the person is. I would send my kid to the accountability program because I don't want to empower and enable shitty behavior.
What?
You tell me. You are the dad.
I want that.
I don't have to make this hypothetical.
But I would say that we're in the minority. Okay.
So you want your kid to go where he's going to be held accountable?
Yes, I do.
As a dad. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would be that way too.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's not the norm. Not even close.
I believe you. I just think that's bad. That attitude, is that not
that's the first time we're seeing that. I mean, it's kind of...
That's what we talk about, though. That entitlement of like, this was a felony weapon charge. This wasn't jaywalking. I don't
believe that was real. That wasn't really real.
Man, that was real.
We are not that good with the AI, man. I mean, come on.
My man.
I don't even want to say what that looked like. I'm not even going to say what that looked like.
You know what it is, man.
Right? He couldn't believe that the question was even asked.
Man, he said, I almost thought he said, I talked to Jim. It happened. I say, Coach, I talked to Jim. Jim got my back. Jim got my back, man.
I mean, he reacted like I would react if you're like, hey, man, were you surprised you didn't get a life sentence for stealing that gum wrapper? It's like off the ground. It's like, what? Like, that's his reaction.
Man, let's talk about Jameis Winston stole crab legs.
Why would I miss a defensive series for a felony weapon charge? Like, what world? Sir, what reporter are you reporting for? Or what the newspaper are you reporting for? It's incredible that was the reaction, but what else would the reaction be? Because it was enabled and empowered. And that's the difference where our guys who are already suspended indefinitely without so much as due process, without the facts even being out, are still told renegade thugs. And their guys can go in front of a camera with a worse charge than 6 of our 7 guys got and say that nothing, I didn't even know about it. And I own a media company that covers this. I had to stumble into it. That says it all. Okay, Ben, let's get to the speed round, special speed round. So normally we do kind of a smorgasbord topic. I want to do this a little differently. We'll rip through. I know we're running along. I phrase this unanswerable Spartan football questions. We got 4 of them. We're going to start here. And this really, really heavy towards Otis, because Otis was in this game. Why did Javon Ringer see all the carries in 2006? Valenti was furious about this in the rant. Let's play that real quick.
It's the same story. Now look, I can't totally sit here and tell you it's all Dave Baldwin's fault. It's not. The offensive line was atrocious. But here's where the coaching staff is liable. J.U. Colquitt was a bowling ball. Yet Javon Ringer saw exclusive carries in the second half. Explain it. Somebody in East Lansing today have the balls to ask Dave Baldwin, where the hell was J.U. Colquitt? It was clear Notre Dame didn't want any part of him. They didn't want to touch him. Colquitt was a beast. Yet Javon Ringer saw all the carries.
So, Otis, I mean, this is really just for you. This is an Otis question. When you weren't floating around on your dinghy, you were on the sideline watching Jehu Colquitt just bulldoze the Notre Dame defense. You're in a hurricane, as famously laid out by Valenti. Why didn't Jehu Colquitt get the ball more? Especially in the second half?
Yeah, that's a question that I think we all think. Even JU asked that question.
He didn't have like a pulled hamstring.
We talked to him. No.
He agrees
JU was fully healthy, man. I remember when we were dominating. I mean, defense was locked in. Offense, Drew Stanley was balling. JU was balling. And then second half, you see that freaking tsunami, wind, that rain was going crazy. And then we
should have been a good thing when you got the lead.
Throwing the ball. And I remember when Drew threw the pick to Zibikowski and he took it to the house, I'm like, what are we doing, man? Like, and then I remember this was when Brady Quinn, he almost had a Tom Brady-esque comeback. Like, they were like Tom Brady for Heisman. I had some of my boys from the crib from Flint coming up, and we were driving around. It was like Brady for president or Brady for Heisman. Like, that was one of those games where we were like, we went down there. You remember we went down there in 2005.
The flag
and playing the flag.
Yep.
And then we come back in 2006. I only lost to Notre Dame once. I was 3 for 1. And when you look at that, you're like, man, that if we would won that game, I feel like the sky was the limit that season. Because we always ended with some 3 non-conference games, and we always played Notre Dame before we got to the Big Ten Conference. If we'd won that game, it would have propelled us to be stronger in the Big Ten Conference. And in that 2006 season was just like...
Well, you lost to some 2-win team the next week. It was the typical pre-D'Antonio Michigan State back-breaking loss where the season goes off the rails.
And that was where, you had the same old Spartans tagline, and we were fed up about it. And that's where, you look back, and I hope JU's watching, and JU's probably like...
We're not talking about this if he got 2 more carries.
He had 100. He had 100 plus first half. 100 plus first half.
They couldn't stop him. What was his worst carry? 6 yards?
Man, that dude. And then
because he was on the 6-yard line.
Right.
Look, trust me. I had to practice against JU, and choo-choo. If you hit, man, you hitting a full brick train, man, and
a brick train.
I'm talking about a brick train, and this is you can't come up there and tackle JU head on. There's absolutely no way. You will be concussed for sure.
I mean, to me, the 2 takeaways, we mentioned both of them: throwing the ball at all, or as much as they were. Valenti said coming out 5 wide. But also Jehu, where's Jehu? You had the ultimate hurricane running back, a big, strong bull that was already rolling.
Yeah, that's it.
What the hell was that? I was at the game. I'm still mad.
Stray was in a full rain suit on the sideline.
Man,
I had a suit.
You had the rain suit? Man, I was in the second row in the end zone, and I don't want to say I'm going to fuck it up. Who was it that took the knee right inside the 5 on the kickoff? That happened right.
Oh yeah,
Florida kid. That was before. That was pre-touchback.
For us,
rule. Yeah. Now if you did it, it'd be a touchback. We took a knee Florida? On the 6-yard line on a kickoff.
Florida.
It was happening right in front of me. I couldn't believe it. That was
Jeremy Scott, Jason T. I mean, those 2 are from Florida.
We'll torture ourselves with that. Yeah. So, in other words, short answer: there's no explanation.
There's no explanation.
I was hoping almost you'd say he had a knee injury we didn't know.
Absolutely. JU never was injured.
Well, I don't. Can you even hurt that guy? I guess
he was right. He was on Dave Baldwin. That's who. He was
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So moving on. Second one. This is for either you or both of you. Did smokers spike the ball in time? There have been multiple studies on this. You don't buy the Spartan Bob conspiracy. The 3 independent studies said they came up with 3 different numbers. They all said he got it off in time. One was 4 100ths of a second. One was 7. One was 8. They were all less than 1/10 of 1 second. So that's how close it was. It was less than 1/10 of a second. But they all said they got it off on time. So you don't buy the conspiracy.
No way.
Thank God we didn't have the technology that we have now back then.
They couldn't have overturned that though.
No, they couldn't. Yeah. We had TJ Duckett, or what we say TJ Duckett? Todd, sorry. We say Todd Duckett now. Todd. We had Todd Duckett on the call on our show, and we talked about that pass. And that pass was
that's the thing. You still got to execute that.
You still got to execute that. You got to pass. That ball was in the air for an eternity, right?
There's a looping pop fly.
And you think about, I got to catch this. I got to catch this.
Did he complete the process of that catch? He dropped that ball within 1/10 of a second of getting.
Oh, you said did he fully bring it
in? He dropped it on purpose. I'm not saying he fucked up. He dropped it on purpose to celebrate. I'm not. But that ball is on the ground.
Where's that ball? Though?
It's not on my shelf. Do you got it?
No, I don't have it.
I would
love that ball.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I mean, I would still take the Jalen jersey over that ball, but yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. I don't know. I'd like the time clock that Sparty Bob was using. Maybe that one would be more valuable. To me, he got it off. And by the way, have you ever watched like the full replay of that shit? Like, why was it even close? Smokers tackled on that little scramble with like 18 seconds left, and we're on the 3. Like, can you line up in under 17 seconds? Like, what the fuck was that? All right, moving on. Does MSU win? I don't know if you even remember this. Now, you were in the game, but you might not remember this component. Does MSU win in 2007 if Ryan Mallett doesn't fumble? We'll set it up, and I'm going to run the play.
I remember that.
Henny gets knocked out. Freshman 5-star Ryan Mallett comes in. He gets sacked.
I made the tackle with Mike Hart, but he ran for 20 yards.
Run the play, Ben, in the grainy 07 footage because, we're all old. This is what it looked like. Wow. Michigan up 2 scores.
Tell me you was going to show this. Now I'm pissed.
Yeah, I should have prepared you. Well, let's run that, Ben. Let's see what that looked like.
Michigan fans are trying to shake off the fact they're down 10. And now the freshman is in a boiling pot he's never been in before. Ryan Mallett. He's played a lot this year, but not in this atmosphere. And down he goes. Mike Hart picks up the ball. Hart picks up the ball, and he's running out to the first down.
And it's a play. The whistle did not blow.
How many crazy things are we going to see? And here's Mallett's first snap, and here comes the heat. The hit, the fumble, a one-hopper to Mike Hart. Basketball season truly is underway, Bob. You said it earlier.
If it doesn't bounce at all, you recover. If it bounces any other direction, you recover.
Oh, my God.
But I'm not even asking, hey, what happens if we recover? Because then Michigan State definitely would have won. You would have been in their territory up 10 with 7 minutes left. But let's just say the sack happens, and it's 2nd and 19 or 20 instead of, it's like a 30-yard swing. Does Michigan State finish that win?
So pissed, man. So pissed.
You think you do? You think you win? You're up 10 with 7 minutes left. That would have taken it under 7 with the clock running.
Absolutely. Because we were dominating.
Was that David Thomas?
He was on that team.
Yeah, I remember.
We were dominating.
I remember this game.
We were dominating, man.
He had complete control. Another one that I was at was
we
tortured.
would never have that little brother comment.
We're going to finish there. The 4th and final. Was Michigan State losing in 2007 a good thing, big picture? You get the little brother comment after that. Mark D'Antonio fires back. A lot of people believe it reinvigorated the program to heights they hadn't seen in years. Was it, big picture, a good thing that you lost in 07?
Oh, man, I can't take losses, man. There is victory.
You were in the game. Maybe
big
Jason
picture.
can give a
big
better...
picture, yes. Because it took us...
I would say so.
Yeah,
yes.
I think so, too.
The next decade, it was pure dominance.
We're still fueling off that now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would argue.
Little brother, that little grin. You saw Mike Hart had. That was perfect grin you put up.
Kind of like Mazi Smith when they were asking him about not getting suspended. So
now,
it's a good thing.
Now absolutely, it's a great thing.
Now let's add some fuel to that fire, some sugar in that Kool-Aid with that tunnel incident. Now let's talk about East Lansing coming in.
Well, we got 2 separate tunnels, so there shouldn't be any problems.
We don't have 2 separate tunnels.
We don't?
Absolutely not.
Don't they go in different?
I mean, you come different locker rooms, but you got one tunnel.
No, the one tunnel, the big one to the field, but isn't it like an immediate? I've never been down there.
You know what? You will come down. You will come on down. We will bring you down.
Yeah.
No, you got
Is it a safe tunnel? Because I wouldn't go in the Michigan.
No, we got to look. That's the difference between. That's the difference between Michigan State operations versus Michigan operations. We got it locked and coded, down packed. We got ropes. We got mad people trained to make sure that not 2 teams are in the tunnel at the same time.
Odell Bredham wakes up every morning thanking God for a safe tunnel in East Lansing. So, yeah, I definitely want to check out our super safe tunnel. But you got to give credit to Michigan where they're due. I mean, this is an impressive 1-game winning streak they're on, so I can see why they're so confident.
That's awesome.
You would think, listening to these people, that they've beaten us like 12 games in a row. It's like,
listen,
dude,
I know.
Like, congratulations. You got Paul. You got Brett. I'm old school, like old high school football. You win, you get to talk. But they're acting like it's like...
Yeah. I think
they've owned it for 30 years.
Yeah, that's you would think. It's like, hey, congratulations on your one. I mean, we'll see what happens next year. All right, guys, I kept you way too long. I apologize. Where can people find you in this Sparta podcast? So we'll get out there. Tell me.
This is Sparta MSU on YouTube. That's where you got to go. Catch us. Subscribe, man. Subscribe like you do to this show right here. You know, different perspective, but we all love the green and white. This is Sparta MSU YouTube. And all the other socials.
All the other socials.
They're
man.
everywhere.
The best part about it is that we're not faking it. We're not faking till we're making it. Like when you see us on the show, it's like we're in person, man. And it's one of those things where we're able to bring people on and talk more than just football, X's and O's. Like, let's talk life. Like, the last episode we had Herb A. Good, who's a head coach at Madonna University. Like, we're showcasing and highlighting that we're not thugs. We're productive citizens, right?
Right. We're better than that.
We're bigger and better than that, right? But we also,
I mean, because you guys are black, so you have to be like thug, right?
Yeah, right.
Crazy, man. Like, you can break up fights,
right?
right. You can break up fights, and you're still somehow
thugging,
right?
Right.
But it's a great opportunity for us to truly shed some light into the madness that happens with football, with basketball, but it's truly just like showcasing stuff that you truly. Spartan fans can go to anywhere, any outlet, and see like the stuff that people all know. But it's like the stories behind the scenes, the locker room talk that we like to share. So like when Jason and me and JU kind of started this thing, it was brick by brick, man. So it's a good show for us, but also for the fans and then our partners, man, and also Michigan State Athletics and Playfly, who I'm the general manager, but it's really helping driving a lot of stuff, revenue, and ultimately helping our student athletes. So it's a good deal, man.
We got to catch that Alabama NIL stuff, man.
Let's get it.
Well, my first chant as a Michigan State student in the stands for any player was the Otis Wiley.
My man.
Yeah,
man.
You were the first player that we chose the O and the W. So I'll give you Otis
awesome,
Wiley,
man.
and appreciate both you guys.
I appreciate your hospitality, man. You got a great spot and inspiration of what I need to do in my basement. So. It's dead serious.
I was the guy eating those shitty pretzels watching you play. Don't tell me I'm inspiring you for anything. Jason Strayhorn, Otis Wiley. Ben, we love you. Eric, we love you. Spiro Avenue Show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Good night. God bless. Go Green.